Welcome back to Overtime, ladies and gentlemen. We just got done talking about North America, and now it's time for Europe. So, of course, we bring out our resident European, Shogun. Yep. You're here. How's it going?
Well, I was fine until I heard the lack of enthusiasm in Wave's voice for that one.
Resident European.
Woo, Shogun.
He's just always here to make me sound like I don't know what I'm talking about.
It's like resident sleeper, but resident European.
Something like that. It's similar in that vein, some degree, because they both share the word resident. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the standings and how they stand after 3 weeks of league play in Europe. Got 2 undefeated teams crowned on the top of the board here. Method and PSG are only undefeated teams in the RLCS right now.
Yeah, both those teams looking absolutely solid. Method taking their week off, so it'll be interesting to see how exactly they're going to come into week number 4 now that they've had time to just sort of stew in the fact that, wow, we are really doing this well, whilst PSG, they just can't be stopped right now. They've looked so good, but those two, they've got themselves a roadblock ahead.
And right now, in both regions, we're seeing like rookies at the top. Bluey, never seen him here at the RLCS, and by rookie, I mean RLCS rookie, all right?
Yes.
Stop correcting us. We know he's played before. Sorry.
He never played the game before. No, he just hasn't played on this stage, and here they are. And down at the bottom, also one of the similarities between the two. There's a team that's 0-5, the team that kind of slipped in, that knocked a team out of the way, and is struggling to find their wins right now. Team Secret had opportunities this week, but just not able to find the wins.
Yeah, I really feel like this week was Secret's biggest opportunity. I've been speaking to Talacto. He took on 2 of those target teams of theirs. They needed at least 3 wins, in my opinion, if they wanted to try and avoid the promotion relegation series, but instead, they lost. And it was actually probably their worst week I've seen from them so far in their biggest opportunity. So right now, they're really far back. They're going to struggle. At the moment, we're kind of looking at the region as who's going to get 7th, who's going to try and get into the regionals, because we're doubting them at this point.
Yeah, and talking about teams that had, pivotal weeks here for them, going 0-2 was a big deal. But for PSG, Method had a bye week, so we didn't get to see them play, but PSG had 2 series, and they went 2-0 in both of them. They are 4-0 right now. This team is on fire.
I mean, we can't talk enough, too, but before we even get into any of it, congratulations to them for getting that sponsor. That's a huge deal. It's also really cool to just see that name in RLCS altogether, but a lot of it has to do with everybody on their team being involved. There's no one being left out whatsoever. They're just playing overall clean Rocket League. Everybody's making their secure touches. Everybody's getting involved. Rotations are on point. Very, very minimal mistakes for their team.
Yeah, we see here Farah having his rematch against Flipside Tactics. This was a big match in Season 3, and here he gets the win again. Flipside still struggling to beat a team that Farah is on. They knocked them out of league play as well at the LAN from Season 3, so Farah and his boys right now. Bluey, a fantastic player. And oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the 3rd player, of course. It always happens.
All set?
It's all set, thank you. Thank you very much. The other French.
That's what I'm here for. I'm the other resident European.
Hi. It is legitimately just anytime your brain as a caster is like, name all 3 players on the team, go. There's always one that it's like, I don't know. It's right there. But
give me multiple choice. I want 4. I'll get the 3 right.
Yeah, every time. The name's in front of me, I got it. But the moment you got to pull them out of your brain when you got 8 teams to pull from, it's hard stuff.
Yeah, but right now, PSG, we've seen how they play. I love the fact that they can just do anything right now. They can adapt to any style that's currently put in front of them. If they have a team like Flipside ahead of them that likes to play on the ground a little bit more, fine. You've got Bluey, one of the best ball carriers in the entire league. We've got another team like Envy or Galeforce that's much better at hitting the ball long. Fine, we can do that. We can drag the ball as much as we want to. We can find each other in the midfield. Right now, I'm going to be very curious to see if there is a weakness in PSG.
It's just their creativity has been phenomenal. The way that they move the ball is exactly like that. Their ability to adapt, whether it's on the ground or in the air, like they just seem to have every piece of the puzzle figured out for their play styles on each player of the team. It's really exciting to watch.
Shogun, I want to poke you.
Yo, it's really far away.
I know, not legitimately. With a thought.
Transitive poke.
When you saw that roster, Shasta Farah Bluey, before we started, and I'm asking you because I think you've just probably seen them play a lot more frequently. You probably run into them in ranked, unlike a lot of us who've got a high rank. When you saw those 3 together, what were your expectations and hopes for them coming forward?
Well, honestly, when I came into the season, I had them pegged down as 4th.
Okay.
For this entire region. So they've performed above my expectations, but I still thought, you know what, this is the team I thought would do really, really well. I'm just happy to still be wrong when it comes to that and see them just going, yeah, we're good. But we're really good. You've got to respect them at this point.
It's interesting, too, because they actually came in as the 4th seed in play-ins. It's not like they weren't expected to make it as a LAN team, per se. It's just the competition was stacked against them. You talk about, okay, we've got Gale Force, we've got Flipside, we've got Envy, we've got... It's like, okay, where do you put them when you expect all these other teams to play much better than they are right now? But that's the difference of RLCS. It's just a matter of playing throughout those 5 weeks and showing that you're here to play, and they've been doing just that. They're beating teams that we originally didn't think they would, just because the competition is so heavy in Europe.
It's one of those things of, we look at Europe right now, and it's a case of, we came into this and I said straight to Lola at the very first week, we will not have any 4-0 teams or any team that is completely undefeated by the time we reach week number 3. We've reached week number 3. We've got 2 of them.
We have 2 still, only in Europe.
It's stacked upon stacked upon stacked, and they've still managed it.
I think it's just because there's a lot of teams that are playing way worse than we expected, though.
Speaking of which, on the other side, we found who's hot right now. It's PSG. Who's not? Poor Envy, our reigning world champions here in RLCS, are just having the worst start you could possibly have right now. They have 1 win under their belt. This week they went up against Excel, and they got swept by Excel. And then they also went up against Mocket, lost that one in 4 games. And there was a lot of Twitter drama last week. This week, pretty much just silent because they just don't have anything to say right now about this.
And just coming in to EU League play this season, who were our top 3, right? What were the ones you're putting up there? Envy, Gale Force,
Flipside.
Flipside, where they're always the you kind of throw the dart at a really high angle, maybe Flipside. Yeah. But either way, we still had them pegged somewhere up there. Who is really struggling? Envy, Gale Force, Flipside.
Number 5, 6, and 7 on the standings right now is Gale Force, Flipside, and it's Envy right now.
It's mind-blowing. I don't actually understand how to predict anything anymore in Europe. And anyone who gets our pick'ems right is probably the stupidest one at this point. Because why are you predicting this nonsense?
Flip the coin, man. Just flip the coin like you did, but don't go with back of hand as your answer. It probably doesn't work.
If you're next to Shogun.
In a world where you take Greasy and you put them back on a team with Remco, and then they're just losing all over the place. In my mind, I'd be like, oh, this is great. They're going back to an old tried and true duo, and it just is not panning out for them right now. I think that and then talking to some of their players, they felt like it's not that there's any one particular thing that they're messing up. It's just general inconsistency. They just have been on kind of a downward slope, and they've got to get their grounding again.
I mean, we are kind of going in on them as we should be at this point in time. They have not performed up to standard. I feel like they definitely got caught though yesterday with the Devo problem.
Yeah, that's true.
He had a lot of issues, but in general, if that wasn't there, that could have been a really good series between those 2 teams. But didn't quite have him there. He wasn't able to play at his best. I see you smiling. I know it's right there. Okay.
I mean, for me, when they played Excel, they got to that 3rd game. It went into overtime in that 3rd game, and they started to get their footing. But the issue was, it was too late already. They finally started to slow it down and control the pace and do a bunch of things. Remco had 3 back-to-back mind games because they finally had control of the pitch for the first time all series. And then leave wide open net, and it's a long clear, and they lose the series.
Yeah, and it's interesting just to note that there are 4 teams right now that have played 5 games in our league. 2 of them are Allegiance and Secret, who both are sitting at 0-5. But then in North America, it's Cloud9 at 4-1, and in Europe, it's Envy at 1-4. Just complete antithetical starts for the number 1 seeds from their regions as they're just continuing to try and find their wins. And Envy is running out of time right now to get out of this relegation area that they're sitting in right now.
And sitting and watching games just from a very surface level, obviously you can delve into any game for probably an hour apiece and figure out everything a team's doing wrong. But it almost feels like a lot of the play styles that these teams that are struggling, it's like they're going out of the pitch, but then they're like lost children, it feels like. I'll see okay, so this is what they're doing. And then I swear a minute and a half later, I'm like, that's not happening anymore. Everything's falling apart. And I don't know if they're just unaccustomed to having such a challenge by every team every week, since Europe, as we mentioned, is getting closer and closer and closer. But it's weird. 2 minutes into a match, I'm like, all right. In my head, I'm like, this is what they're doing. They're getting these passing plays. This is our positioning. 2 minutes in, I'm like, none of that's happening anymore. What is going on?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, The reigning world champs are going to, at best, finish 3-4 in league play, and they need some real help to make it all the way through the playoffs if they can even get up into those standings. So we'll see how things pan out for them. But how are things panning out for the players in particular? We talked about it over in North America. Now let's talk about it here in Europe. As far as the player accolades, who's our golden striker? Who's in the lead right now? Up for Excel, a player we haven't talked about too much. A team that actually had a pretty good week here as they also went 2-0, going up against Envy and Secret. Niels Cook sits at the top right now, 1.2 per game.
Niels Cook was right up there last season as well, really challenging K-Dop and Cooks here. I think he came in 3rd overall. He stepped up, and it's a player that XL really did need to step up, because without that, they were going to probably struggle to really get much of anything. But the surprise on that one is Zenzus. I've never seen Zenzus as a striker, and that might just be like a bias on my part of maybe I looked at him the wrong way for all this time.
Well, he's been living in the shadow of Niels Cook as well.
It almost looked like he was the feeder player for Niels Cook, but he's stepping up, put him there. I actually like that idea. Maybe put Pondex back, because you know he's not going to make mechanical mistakes.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, having the Batmobile player be the sweeper on the team also feels like a solid move as well. Take a look at where we're at with the assists. The golden playmaker, the clutch playmaker, that's what it's called. Niels Cook also on the top here. Bluey, the new MVP player, the rookie of the year. That's the term I'm looking for. Sitting at the top there, 0.94 assists per game.
For me, looking at Bluey and stuff, like we talked about a little bit earlier, his air control just sets up opportunities for his teammates. He's not afraid to lead the charge and then just have everybody follow suit. And that's part of the reason why you see Shaw set up there as well when he was in the Golden Striker. It's just the teamwork that they have going on, and I'm happy to see that he's setting up his teammates in that sense, especially as a rookie. It's really hard to take complete charge. Like, even though he's the youngest on the team, to me, he's playing as the captain of the team, which is hard to do against veterans on your side. Like, for him to just really speak up and be like, guys, like, pay attention to me, I'm over here. Like,
Well, just to speak a tiny bit on why so for a while, air dribbles were just like no one knew how to read them. If you could do them, you could probably score. But now people are able to predict them. So the people that are really, really good in the air, if you make too many shots on net, that's when like everything goes down. Your striking goes down, your assists go down, because your target's so small and people can read it. But if you have great air control and you want to pass, your target becomes much larger. Now it's an area of the field, and now you can actually still defeat that 1 or 2 players because you have so much more room to play, and your air control is really good. So I think that's why a lot of the people that had crazy air control are kind of moving from, carrying into the net and now into the passing position.
Yeah, that
you look concerned.
You've got that mostly correct on that one. It's more of like it's more of reading what the other team is doing. If you can see the positioning of the other squad, you can see, right, they're all rotating back. You've got 2 options. You've got to hit it really hard, maybe get into net, but they can push it into the corner and they will still be safe. But if you can get an air dribble, and this is something where Bluey and Squishy are so useful as players, you pull it up. As you challenge, you're either going to be challenging and push it towards your own net, or you're going to be trying to push it to the side, at which point there's still a challenge from the air dribbler, at which point it's still going to be dangerous. The only way you can really deal with an air dribble correctly is by running straight onto it, which you can only really do whilst you're in the net. That's what just makes him so useful.
Absolutely. Well, we need to also take a look on the defense at where we're at as far as who's making the most saves over in Europe right now. Right on the top of that leaderboard, Chaussette from PSG. Also Fairy Peak there. Haven't talked a lot about Mocket, but they actually had a fantastic week as well. Also going 2-0 and sit there right with Excel in the middle of the standings right now. One of those teams kind of along the similar lines of FlyQuest, of a team that's making a lot of waves right now. So Fairy Peak and Chaussette up here in the number 1 and number 2.
And we're not seeing the usual trend. Generally, the saviors of last season were the teams that were struggling and were just getting shot on so often, and we're just losing by these large margins, or they'd get 15 saves in a game and then still lose by 3 goals. That's clearly not the case at this point. So, again, it's that kind of toss-up of what is the a way that each team is approaching the pitch and who are they going against. And we don't really have like the kind of struggling team as significantly gapped as we did last season.
Sure, absolutely. But talking about Europe's been a lot of fun. I want to know how it's going down over in OCE. So let's hear from Yomi Cheeseman. Cheeseman, how you doing?
Thanks, Wavepunk. I'm doing well, and so is the Oceanic region. We actually have 5 teams tied in first place right now on 2 wins and 1 loss, and 1 team right behind them, that's Avant Gaming. But we had a large upset this week with Chiefs eSports Club, formerly known as Alpha Sydney, you all know and love from last season, getting taken down by Legacy eSports, who was running a sub. It's a big upset for the region, and it's really shocked the standings, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say about that.
Thanks so much, Yummy. Man, crazy to hear Chiefs dropping a game there to a team playing with a sub. We've seen some similar storylines over here with NRG taking a loss early, and we have no undefeated teams now here in North America, but over there, so tight. Tied for first, 2-1, 5 teams. So OCE, definitely a region to be keeping your eye on. But let's look back at the European Rocket League Rival Series. Where are the teams that we've been expecting to do well? Well, they're up at the top right now. Leftovers still with no losses. The two teams, Fibian over in North America and Leftovers here in Europe, sitting there clean, undefeated right now.
Shogun, you and I chatted a little bit about Endpoint. They are in a team house, I think, right now, right?
Are.
Which they're, I think, one of the first teams I know. I know G2 kind of did it, but it was like 2 of them, and things got weird. But I'm really excited to see how they perform.
Absolutely. We can take a look at how things are going to be panning out for week number 4 over in Europe. Some big games there. And as with the we're at the 6 games right now. Game number 5, the showdown of the undefeated teams. After that match, we will only have 1. We could possibly only have 2. We could possibly have none by the end of that match if PSG were to lose earlier. But right now, match 5, that's what I'm looking at.
You see, I talked earlier on that PSG and Method have both got roadblocks to come into. What I failed to mention is that roadblock is each other. They are 2 cars hurtling towards each other. Only one team can come out of that. And whoever wins that is going to be so set heading into the final week.
Yeah, this week's going to be crazy. Match 2, we see Method going up against Mocket, and then match 3 is PSG going up against Excel. Excel and Mocket are the 3 and 4 place teams, so it's the 1 and the 2 facing off against the 3 and the 4 right now, and then the 2 undefeated teams will be going off against each other. It's going to be a crazy week. Can't wait to see how that week pans out, guys. So be definitely tuned in to Rocket League, twitch.tv/Rocket League this weekend to see all that action. It'll be great. When we come back, Krenovi, everybody's favorite player, on the line here. Going to talk to him. It's going to be a great time. Can't wait to hear what he's got to say about how North American League play is going. Have that and more when we come back to Overtime.